ninth chapter, which is one before the last one. It's not a long one, and it's a continuation of the one we did yesterday, dealing with prophecy. So we spoke about prophecy, we spoke about the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu and how it was not the same kind of prophecy of every other prophet. A consequence of that is that what we have through the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, namely the Torah, is not like any other prophecy that we have from any other prophets. הלכה א', דבר ברור ומפורש בתורה, שהיא מצווה עומדת לעולם ולעולמי עולמים. It's something that is clear and explicit in the Torah, that it was prescribed to be eternal, immutable forever and ever. אין לה לא שינוי, it will never be modified, ולא גרעון ולא תוספת, nothing will be subtracted from it nor added to it, שנאמר, את כל הדבר אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם, אותו תשמרו לעשות, לא תוסף עליו ולא תגרע ממנו. And this is exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu said in Devarim. Everything that I am prescribing you today, that's what you shall keep. You may not add to it nor subtract from it. And obviously what he meant was ever. ונאמר, והנגלות לנו ולבנינו עד עולם לעשות את כל דברי התורה הזאת. And even more explicitly, when Moshe Rabbeinu again signs in the second event that we had in the covenant, the ratification of the covenant at Moab, Parashat Nitzavim, Moshe Rabbeinu concludes by saying that which we cannot know, that's God's jurisdiction, but that which we can know is forever, is for us and for our generations that come after us, for our offspring forever, to do all the things of this Torah. So we do have the concept here of our offspring forever fulfilling this mitzvah, this Torah, without any change. You see from here that all the words of the Torah we were prescribed to fulfill forever. And so too another pasuk says that this specific mitzvah should be hukkat olam ledorotechem. This should be a law that is eternal for all of the generations that come in your posterity. And this appears 7 times in the Torah, in 7 mitzvot. So obviously, if those mitzvot were meant to be kept forever, so to the rest. ונאמר, לא בשמיים היא, הלמדת שאין נביא רשאי לחדש דבר מעתה. And on the other hand, let's attack this point from another angle. You know, if someone wanted to change the Torah, they'd claim that they are being told to change it by God. But there is one other very important principle in the Torah as well, lo bashamayim hi, that this is not something that belongs to the heavenly jurisdiction. The heavens have no longer any authority, any say in the Torah, and therefore no prophet that comes after the Torah can change anything from the Torah and on. הלכה ב' לפיכך, אם יעמוד איש בין מישראל בין מן האומות, therefore, if a person rises up, whether from the Jewish people or from other nations, ויעשה אות ומופת ויאמר שהשם שלחו להוסיף מצווה או לגרוע מצווה, and he does some kind of a miraculous sign, supernatural sign, to prove that God has sent him to add something to the Torah, to subtract something from the Torah, או לפרש במצווה מן המצוות פירוש שלא שמענו ממשה, or if he comes to offer up an interpretation in one of the mitzvot, an interpretation that was not received down from Moshe, or that goes against the interpretations that were given by Moshe. A very clear example. The Torah says very clearly, in a way that was interpreted and applied from Moshe Rabbeinu until today, that Uvayom Hashemini Yimol Besar Orlato, that a baby boy, when born, on the 8th day needs to have the Brit Milah. What if someone comes and says, I am a prophet, and this does not mean a physical Brit Milah, this means spiritual Brit Milah, to sort of take care of the orla, of the skin, the foreskin of the heart, but there is no need for an actual Brit Milah. So that's an example of lefaresh b'mitzvah min hamitzvot perush lo shamanu min Moshe, and this is what obviously Paul did in Christianity. או שאמר שאותן המצוות שנכתבו בהן ישראל אינן לעולם ולדורי דורות, אלא מצוות לפי זמן היו, or maybe this person claiming to be a prophet might argue that some of the mitzvot were not meant to be fulfilled forever, but they were only for a certain period of time and they are no longer applicable. הרי זה נביא שקר. So we know by the substance of his prophecy, of his alleged prophecy, that he is a false prophet. שהרי בא להכחיש נבואתו של משה, because he's coming to contradict the נבואה of Moshe. ומיתתו בחנק, אשר הזיד לדבר בשם השם אשר לא ציווהו. And if these were to be prosecuted by the Jewish Supreme Court, by the Sanhedrin, the consequence for someone like that, for a false prophet, is chenek, is one of the 4 capital punishments, because he purposely, deliberately said something in the name of God, which was not the case. שהוא ברוך שמו ציווה למשה שהמצווה הזאת לנו ובנינו על עולם, ולא איש אל ויכזב. Because God himself prescribed Moshe that the Torah is meant to be forever, and God is not a man, paraphrasing a pasuk, God is not a man that he lies. God does not lie. So when we want to say God does not lie, we quote what Bil'am said, Lo ish el vichazev. God is not a man for him to lie. Gimal. אם כן, למה נאמר בתורה נביא יקים להם מקרב אחיהם? If so, then what is the point of prophets at all? Why do we have prophets that come from within our people? לא לעשות דת הובה, אלא לצוות על דברי התורה ולהזהיר העם שלא יעברו עליה. כמו שאמר האחרון שבהם זכרו תורת משה עבדי. So the purpose of prophets in the Jewish people is not to add to the Torah, it's not to subtract from the Torah, it's not to interpret the Torah, but rather to encourage people to follow the Torah exactly as we have it from Moshe. And proof to this is the very last prophet the Jewish people had, the prophet Malachi, finished off his prophecy, his book, his legacy to the Jewish people by encouraging us, zichru, remember, never forget Torat Moshe Avdi. This is God saying it to the prophet. Never forget the Torah of Moshe, my servant. So if the last prophet is still encouraging us to follow the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously this makes very clearly the point that the prophets are not coming here to modify the Torah, but rather to strengthen it and to encourage us to follow exactly what Moshe said. Dalet. וכן, another thing that prophets can also do, אם ציוונו בדברי הרשות, כגון לכו למקום פלוני או אל תלכו, עשו מלחמה היום או אל תעשו, if he prescribes us on something that is not law, but it's more within human behavioral discretion. It's a choice that the people or someone has to make, not having to do with law. Like, for example, go to this place or don't go, make war today, do not wage war today, בנו חומה זו או אל תבנוה, build this wall or do not. מצווה לשמוע לו. We are prescribed to listen to him. והעובר על דבריו, חייב מיתה בידי שמיים. And anyone who transgresses his words is going to be liable for death on the hands of God. שנאמר, והיה האיש אשר לא ישמע לדברי אשר דבר בשמי, אנוכי אדרוש מעמו, like the pasuk says, and it shall be the person who will not listen to what I'm saying through a prophet, who is speaking truthfully on my name, I myself, says God, I'm going to take care of this person for disobeying a direct order. נביא שעבר על דברי עצמו, והכובש נבואתו חייב מיתה בידי שמיים, ובשלושתם נאמר אנוכי אדרוש מעמו. So to a prophet that goes against his own prophecy, for example, the prophet Yonah, he ended up not doing this, but the Tanakh suggests he wanted to not do what God told him in his prophecy, which was to go to Nineveh. He wanted to go to Tarshish instead. So it's going against one's own nevuah. And we see in the Tanakh he almost died on account of that. When the ship he was on almost drowned, he ended up fulfilling his prophecy, so he didn't die. והכובש נבואתו, again, we can take Yonah as an example, the one who has a prophecy and does not want to share it. So all of these three examples are liable for Anochi Edrosh Me'imo, for God taking personal care of them. Which also means, by the way, a court does not. A human court does not deal with this person or give any consequences. הלכה ה' וכן אם יאמר לנו הנביא שנודע לנו שהוא נביא, לעבור על אחת מכל מצוות האמורות בתורה, או על מצוות הרבה, בין קלות, בין חמורות, לפי שעה. Another example of something which we do listen to the prophet on, if the prophet says, after we do know that he's a prophet, not before, after we do know that he's a prophet, to transgress a specific precept, or many, or several, whether it's a serious precept or a light one. There's going to be an exception we'll see in a little bit, but he's saying this as an exceptional event, as a one-time thing. מצווה לשמוע לו. We do have to listen to him. וכן למדנו מהחכמים הראשונים מפי השמועה, and this is what we actually have as a tradition from the early sages, a tradition that they have. בכל, אם יאמר לך נביא עבור על דברי תורה כאליהו בהר הכרמל, שמע לו חוץ מעבודה זרה. On everything, if a prophet, a true prophet, tells you to transgress the words of the Torah, like Eliyahu HaNavi did on the mountain of Carmel, we do have to listen to him, with the exception of Avodah Zarah. So what happened in Har Carmel was Eliyahu wanted to bring these sacrifices outside the Bet HaMikdash, which is not permitted, just to show that God was the Lord, as he was able to in his dispute with the priest for the Baal. And he told people to come and help and build the Mizbeach and to come and help bring the animals, all things that are transgressions. But we were supposed to listen to him on that moment. He did this through a prophecy. It was a one-time exceptional command to suspend momentarily the applicability of a certain mitzvah. So we would have to listen to him. We would not have to listen to him if what he had asked to do was alien worship. So for alien worship, there is no exception. Again, one of the points of alien worship is God's exclusivity. So once you do something once, it's no longer it's not an exceptional act that you're doing as a one-time event. This defeats the entire system. The system is no longer exclusive, the system is no longer foolproof, and therefore, even if a true prophet comes and says, right now, worship this other deity, we should not listen to him, and we should know that this means that that person is not a real prophet. והוא שיהיה הדבר לפי שעה כגון אליהו בהר הכרמל שהקריב עולה בחוץ וירושלים נבחרה והמקריב בחוץ חייב כרת. And this is only if the prophet, when should we listen to the prophet? Only when the prophet is prescribing to transgress the Torah on an exceptional basis, like Eliyahu did in Har HaKarmel, as we explained, that he brought a sacrifice outside the Beit HaMikdash, which is something for which one would be liable on karet. ומפני שהוא נביא מצווה לשמוע לו, and because he is a prophet, the Torah itself is the one that prescribed, the same Torah that said we may not bring offerings anywhere but in the place that was selected to be the designated place for God, namely the temple, right? The same Torah said, if a prophet comes and tells you to transgress something momentarily, you shall listen to him. וגם בזה נאמר אליו תשמעון. ו' ואילו שאלו את אליהו ואמרו לו, נעקור מה שכתוב בתורה ותעלה עולותיך בכל מקום אשר תראה. If we had asked Eliyahu at Har HaKarmel and we had approached him and said, Mr. Eliyahu, tell us something. You're asking now to help you build this Mizbeach, to bring these animals, to do and to effectively transgress what it says in the Torah, "Pen ta'aleh olotecha b'chol makom asher tir'eh," lest you bring your sacrifices anywhere that you lay your eyes on. How are you asking us to do this? Haya omer, lo. He would have replied, no, I'm not asking you to do away with that commandment. That commandment, of course, stays. Ella hamakriv b'chutz le'olam hayav karet. And forever, eternally, whoever brings an offering outside the Beit HaMikdash will be liable for karet. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu prescribed. אבל אני היום אקריב בחוץ בדבר השם כדי להכחיש נביאי הבעל. But I am today doing this outside the Beit HaMikdash for the purpose of implementing God's prophecy and disproving the prophets of the Baal. הלכה ז' ועל הדרך הזאת, אם ציוו כל הנביאים לעבור לפי שעה, מצווה לשמוע להם, ואם אמרו שהדבר נעקר לעולם, נקטם בחנק, שהתורה אמרה לנו לבננו על עולם. And from this you can learn what the rule actually is. If any prophet says to transgress something momentarily, we have a mitzvah to listen to them. But if they are trying to change the Torah in a permanent way, then they are liable on henning, an earthly capital punishment. Because the Torah says that it's supposed to be forever, for all generations to come. וכן אם עקר דבר מדברים שלמד מפי השמועה, או שאמר בדין מדיני תורה שהשם ציווה לו שהדין כך הוא והלכה כדברי פלוני, הרי זה מביא שקר ויחנק אף על פי שעשאות. Now this is tremendously important and not self-evident. What if the Navi comes and does not say anything inconsistent or contradictory to, inconsistent with or contradictory to the Torah or the other traditions we have, but he wants rather to suggest a novel interpretation, totally consistent with what we know, but he says that this interpretation comes from the heavens. So for instance, to take an example we discussed in the introduction to Mishne Tora, suppose that there is a machloket between within a bedin on the height the sukkah is supposed to have, the minimum height the sukkah is supposed to have. So the actual machloket we know from the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says it could be as tall as one wants, and Chachamim are the ones who say that it must be capped at 20 amot, 20 cubits. So let's assume that it wasn't Rabbi Yehuda, but it was Eliyahu HaNavi, and let's assume that Eliyahu HaNavi is speaking not in his personal capacity as a sage, because remember, to be a prophet you have to first be a sage, so they all were tremendous sages. But Eliyahu is saying, last night I had a dream, I had a prophetic dream, and God has told me that a sukkah can be as tall as one wants. If a prophet says something like this, we know that this is a false prophet. And even though he may have established his reputation by having done a seemingly supernatural event, we still execute him. Because this also is indirectly contradictory to the Torah, which said that the interpretation of the Torah is not in the realm of the heavens. We do not take instructions from God as to what the Torah means. What the Torah means is not what God means. The deal we have with God is He gave us 311,000 and change characters, which form the Torah that we see written in the parchment in every synagogue in the world, and we, the Jewish people, provide the meaning. Not God. We, the Jewish people, do this. So if a prophet says, God has told me this is the meaning, we know that this is against the deal we entered into. It's counter to the Torah, and therefore this is a false prophecy. But if this was something momentary, we should listen to him forever. So if, in our example, if Eliyahu HaNavi doesn't say Sukkah can be as tall as you want, but if he says, God told me in a dream that this year people should be free to do Sukkot as tall as they want, then that's fine. That might be a true prophecy. Plus, הלכה לח"ח, במה דברים אמורים בשאר מצוות, אבל בעבודה זרה אין שומעים לו ואפילו לפי שעה. ואפילו עשה אותות מופתים גדולים ואמר שהשם ציווהו שתעבוד עבודה זרה היום בלבד, או בשעה זו בלבד, הרי זה דיבר סרה על השם. So everything we said so far again comes with this one notable exception, which is alien worship. If a prophet comes and says, even momentarily, God has told me that today everyone has to worship the moon, we may not listen to him. Even if he goes out and does tremendously impressive signs, he makes an eclipse when none is expected, or something of the sort. And he says, this is to prove that God has shown me in prophecy that we all need to worship the moon. We know for a fact the Torah tells us immediately, automatically, to conclude this is a false prophecy, and therefore a false prophet. ועל זה ציווה הכתוב ואמר, ובא האות והמופת, לא תשמע, כי דיבר סרה על השם אלוהיכם. So this is important. The Pesukim, if you read them carefully, the Pesukim that deal with prophecy and what should we listen to and what we should not listen to, it starts by setting up the situation as though we are talking about a prophet whose signs came about. So we are dealing with a prophet about whom it was said, Uva ha'ot ve'hamofet, about whom it was said that the signs he predicted became true. And still, in the specific situation the Torah is describing, when he's trying to lead us away from the Torah itself says, Lo tishma, we may not listen to such a person, and then it adds, Ki diber sara al Hashem Elohechem, that this is insulting to God, to Hashem, your God. שהרי בא להכחיש נבואתו של משה. So a person that comes and tries to have us worship anyone other than God, or God in ways that are not the ways prescribed by the Torah, and he does this even momentarily, even on an exceptional basis, he's being counter to the Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore we know for a fact that he's a false prophet. How do we know for a fact? Again, go back to the last chapter. Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy was established for us on a personal, experiential basis. We know that he's a prophet because we heard God speaking to him. Every other prophet will always have doubt. So you cannot override something that is doubtful, something that is sure and certain, through something that is doubtful, which is what's trying to be what he's trying to do here. And we should also know that all of those tremendously impressive signs he brought to us were actually trickery and were not real supernatural doings. And we should feel no hesitation on executing someone like this. The execution part is because to the Jewish people, this is, as it has been in history, tremendously destructive and disruptive and threatening to the system itself. So two obvious examples of false prophets who came and claimed that they were prophets and tried to change the Torah or to say it no longer applies are Yeshu and Muhammad.